Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Always.
Today we're looking at something pretty complex, I think. Healthcare tech.
Yeah, definitely. A lot going on under the hood there.
More than meets the eye, right?
Mhm.
Specifically, we've got this document all about the challenges developers face in this area.
Lots of hoops to jump through.
Yeah, and we're thinking about it particularly from the perspective of, well, a company like Inicrea Technologies.
Right. They're all about mobile and web app development, looking to kind of carve out a niche in healthcare.
Exactly. Better clients, more leads, the whole nine yards. And this document, it really digs into the nitty-gritty. Healthcare app development, cybersecurity, IPA compliance, all that.
Essential stuff.
Big question is, what makes building an app for healthcare so different? Like, why is it not just like making the next, viral game?
Well, I guess the first thing that springs to mind is the data. Think about it. With a game, it's your high score, maybe your username, not exactly top secret stuff.
Right, low stakes.
Totally. But with healthcare, we're talking about people's medical histories, test results, sometimes even social security numbers, that kind of thing.
That's some seriously sensitive stuff. No wonder data privacy is such a huge deal in this document.
Absolutely. And it's not just about like best practices, it's the law. In the US, we've got IPA.
IPA, yeah, the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. I've heard of it, but honestly, the specifics are a little fuzzy.
Yeah, it's a bit of a beast, that legislation. But at its core, it's all about protecting patient privacy.
Right, makes sense.
So IPA sets these really strict standards for everything: how you store data, who can access it, even how it's transmitted between systems.
Wow, so if Inicrea Technologies wants to get into healthcare apps, they basically need to be IPA experts too.
100%. And not just knowing the rules, but actually baking them into the code itself.
Hmm.
That's where things get tricky. Like, this document mentions encryption as a fundamental requirement.
Oh yeah, it talks about AES and TLS. What are those
Yeah.
exactly?
Those are encryption protocols, basically ways of scrambling data so it's unreadable without the right key, like a secret thing. AES, which stands for Advanced Encryption Standard, is a really strong encryption algorithm. And TLS, or Transport Layer Security, that's used to secure data while it's moving around, like over the internet.
So even if some hacker manages to snag the data, it's just gibberish to them without the key.
Exactly. And those keys, they need to be under lock and key themselves. Any slip up in security could be a major disaster.
For sure. The document also mentions this thing called role-based access control, RBAC. How does that fit into the picture?
Ah, RBAC is huge, especially in a hospital. Imagine a doctor. They need to see patient records, but they don't need access to billing info, right?
Right, totally different departments.
Exactly. So RBAC lets you set up different roles with specific permissions, make sure people only see what they absolutely need for their job, adds another layer of protection against unauthorized access.
It's kind of like having different keys for different rooms in a building, right? Not everyone needs access to everything.
Perfect analogy. And then there's this principle called least privilege. It basically means users only get access to the bare minimum info they need for their specific role. Like when you go to the doctor, you wouldn't want the receptionist seeing your entire medical history, right?
Yeah, that'd be a little weird.
So RBAC and least privilege, they work together to create a much more secure environment.
Gotcha. But man, it all sounds so complicated. The document even talks about a secure development lifecycle, SDL.
SDL is super important for building secure software. It's this idea that security has to be part of the process every step of the way. From the initial design to coding to testing, deployment, the whole shebang. You can't just slap it on at the end.
So like building a house with a solid foundation from day one, not trying to patch up cracks later.
Exactly. But here's the thing. No matter how much you lock things down, there's always a chance of a breach. That's why the document is so big on incident response plans and continuous monitoring.
So you're not just building a secure app, you're preparing for when things inevitably go wrong.
Yep. You need a plan to detect breaches, minimize the damage, and recover quickly. And continuous monitoring means you're constantly on the lookout for suspicious activity, vulnerabilities, proactively updating your systems.
It sounds like a full-time job in itself.
Mhm.
Inicrea Technologies definitely has a lot on their plate if they want to make it in the healthcare app world.
It's a tough gig, for sure, but also incredibly rewarding. If they can build apps that are secure, compliant, and easy to use, they'll have a real advantage.
No doubt. Well, I think anyone listening who's interested in this field has gotten a pretty good sense of the technical hurdles involved.
And remember, this is just the tip of the iceberg. As tech keeps evolving, new challenges are going to pop up all the time. For Inicrea, staying ahead of the game is going to be key to their success.
Great point. Well, that about wraps up our deep dive for today. Hopefully you all have a better grasp of what goes into building secure and compliant healthcare apps.
It's a complex landscape, but the potential to really make a difference in healthcare through technology, huge. Definitely a space to keep an eye on.
Absolutely. Until next time, happy developing
See you then.
and stay secure out there.
Always.